Elvis Costello is a British singer-songwriter who started in 1970 and is still going. He came to popularity in the late 70s, and at that time he was generally considered to be new wave. However, in retrospect, looking back, it's probably more reasonable to think of him as a medium rock singer-songwriter. He's had a sometimes consistent band called The Attractions. Some of his albums are credited as Elvis Costello and The Attractions. Some of the albums where he used the band The Attractions were just credited to himself as Elvis Costello, and on some albums he used different musicians. His first studio album was released in 1977, and he's had 26 since then and is still going. He's had a lot of commercial and critical success, especially for his earlier albums, and is widely respected for his songwriting ability. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was Elvis Costello's 12th album, and it's my first time listening to it, although I may have heard the song Veronica before, because that's been a hit. So, just for a little bit of context, I don't think it's hugely important, really, but his first album, it was released as Elvis Costello. The next 10 albums were released as Elvis Costello and The Attractions. And so this was the first album after that run, being his 12th album. And he doesn't use the band The Attractions on this album. There are 2 songs on the album that are co-written with Paul McCartney. And there were 4 bands that he used, and he recorded in 4 different locations. So he recorded in Dublin, in New Orleans, in Hollywood, and in London. And the London band included Nick Lowe, Chrissie Hynde, and Paul McCartney. I would definitely describe this as singer-songwriter. It's kind of lightish, medium rock. It's very diverse in sounds. And some of that is fairly obvious when you know about the fact that the 4 bands that it's been done across these different sounding bands. One of the things that I found particularly interesting was a kind of funky track, but using brass as the bass rather than an electric bass. I also really like on the a couple of the tracks, there's Irish Julian pipes sound. There's one track with a kind of carnival sound to it. Lots of different sounds going on. The singing's decent. He's got quite a distinctive voice. He has, by this stage, learnt to use it well. Am I saying that he didn't use it well before? I don't know. The songwriting, so this is the thing that really got me, and I loved it. So I've always known that he's been respected as a songwriter, kind of from some of his earlier stuff that I've heard kind of going, yeah, it was okay, not been, hugely overwhelmed. This album really blew me away with the songwriting. There's a lot to dig into here. There's particularly songs about despicable people featuring here. There's a song, Tramp the Dirt Down, which is about Margaret Thatcher and his thoughts on her and her politics and her personal approach to things. There's a track, God's Comic. I'm not sure if it's about somebody in particular. I suspect it is. There's a track called Let Him Dangle, which is a protest about the hanging of somebody. There's all sorts to get into. There's a song, Baby Plays Around, which is a really tender song about losing love, in the process of losing love. And there's one of the tracks that he co-wrote with Paul McCartney. It's called Pads, Paws and Claws, which is a great kind of rompy sound. It's a good track. I would say every song on the album is worth getting into. There's an album I can't remember who by called All Killer No Filler, and it feels a bit like that. Ironically, I feel that the tracks that the most well known, which is Veronica, may be the weakest track on the album, but it's still good. And I think possibly it was just more acceptable because it's not so biting as some of the others. So people, as I say, went on about Elvis Costello, and I didn't get it. But on the strength of this, really, I do. I love this album. I thought it was fantastic songwriting. So that's my opinion. And you've got an opinion, I'm sure. So please let me know what it is by typing it into the comments box. That's it from me for now.